Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Dairy Aisle. It's me, your host, Eli. With me, as always, the handsomest man in all of the cosmos, James Mazzareto.
You're too kind and you're too right, dude. How have you been?
Oh, if it ain't dodging coronavirus, it's dodging protests. So,
man.
I'm kidding. No, just, the usual, going to work, coming back home. And now that things are slowly starting to reopen, being able to occasionally go out.
What is going to work like? I don't even understand what that means anymore at this point.
Honestly, literally nothing has changed. Like I still wake up, Monday through Friday. I wake up at 6. I'm out the door by like 6:35, 6:40. And I go to work. And remember, I told you, like, I work in a warehouse, so there's really not a lot of interaction with the public. Once in a while, we'll get a visitor from one of the parent companies or one of the clients. But that's really.
But I mean, I guess that's what I mean is like, it's so crazy that we could have two totally different experiences, because I've had little to no human interaction outside of like the people I live with, and then like people that we have trust, like family, to come to the house and see us. I think this last week is the most that we've gone out, like as things have reopened. Like we went up to Tampa to go see, Vinny's mom and hang out with the fam over there, and then go visit a few friends on the way back. But that was like the most normal thing that we've done in the last like 3 months, I think, or almost 3 months.
Okay. No, I mean, honestly, the work thing like hasn't. Again, there was never a period between when the virus was still in China and parts of Europe to when it finally came over here and they were like, all right, everybody stay home. There was never an in-between period where I was stuck at home. Like I literally transitioned from Home Depot to the job I have now. And in between that transition, the pandemic was finally starting to come here to the States. And again, there was never a period where they sent us home at all. Probably, I'd say the weirdest thing and the most unfavorable thing that I've experienced has been that in Miami, we went from this period of lockdown where there was no traffic, there was nothing, nobody left their home. And it was like a couple weeks of just bliss. Like there was no noise pollution. There wasn't as much light pollution. Traffic was fucking non-existent. It was amazing. It's like what I wish Miami was like all the time. And then once people started to get back on the streets, shit got, back to regular. And of course things got terrible.
Well, it is not nearly regular in any way, shape, or form. It's still, in my opinion, like what you were saying about the fewer amount of people on the road and stuff like that, you still feel that. Like we went to East Laconia to go eat. It sucked because I would rather see that place full and like be doing super well to make sure that business isn't closed, because I love it a lot and I think it's a great local business. But it was really nice to be able to walk in and then just like sit down and not have 80 people sitting on top of you. So like you could still feel it in those ways. But man, let me tell you, after traveling throughout Florida, there are parts of Florida that are wearing masks and doing all those things. And there are parts of Florida that have just like reopened and they're like, well, we're just reopening. So.
Yeah, we spent Memorial Day weekend up at my parents' house on the beach, like up in like Central Florida. And when we went up there, it was really, really weird because as soon as you got there, you noticed that no one is wearing masks at all.
At all.
Like restaurants were open, people were sitting down next to each other at the bar. Like nobody gave a singular shit about coronavirus. They were like, masks, psh, please.
Nothing
at all.
But you know what?
The only people wearing masks were the people behind the counters. That was it.
Yeah, people who work for the company have to wear masks. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like we went to Old Stone and like everyone behind the counters wearing a mask, but like everyone walking in, standing in line right next to each other, it's just like the thing they can't do is like give samples or anything like that. But people are, I'm interested to see what happens in those areas and if there's like an outbreak of coronavirus, which I highly doubt there will be. But like, I'm interested to see how that goes, because if there isn't an outbreak, it's going to be a very interesting conversation.
No, I know. I mean, thankfully, like Florida's like infection numbers, while still climbing, are climbing very little. Like I think,
and yeah, nowhere near the number they thought it would.
No, like in a week we went from like 54,800 to like 56,000. I think like this morning or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Like people are still catching it, but not nearly at the rate that it was before, when it was just like this linear explosion of cases that were being reported. So
This year's been
this
a
is
fun year so
this
far.
has
It's
been
been a
wild.
fucking
Like
yo, yeah,
what a
this is
way
the
to
blockbuster of a year, dude.
yo.
It don't stop.
Someone posted a fucking a meme on Facebook today that was like, "Yo, shout out to the astronauts that left the Earth. Good choice."
We'll take two tickets to the International Space Station, please.
God, those guys were probably
We're
just
getting the fuck out of here.
got out right at the right time. So
It is, yeah, dude. It's,
yeah.
no, like even as ridiculous as it is, when like the murder hornets meme started dropping on the internet, I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? For sure, murder hornets. And then we saw one in our backyard. We're like, the world's end.
Yeah.
We're fucked.
But you saw a murder hornet in your backyard?
We saw like a hornet.
No. Set the entire house on fire. And the backyard.
I wanted to set everything on fire. I was like, hey, can we get the National Guard called out to murder this fucking
just nuke it from orbit. Just
monstrosity that you call a fucking insect.
Fucking ridiculous.
But yeah, I ended up giving it a swift taste of my Nike chancla.
Of your what?
My Nike chank.
Oh shit! Damn, you hit him with the chank, son.
Wait, hold on. Yeah. Let me get right there. Bam. Right there. That's the great equalizer. That's a great wasp equalizer. But yeah. Sorry about the dogs. Hold on one second. Yeah, they're going nuts. I have no idea who's here. There you go. Sorry about that. So enough about Corona and sickness and badness. Tell me something good that you've been doing since I last talked to you.
Well, since
what
we
is something
last
good?
spoke, I picked up on the PlayStation Plus subscription. They had like one of those like one day like flash sales, and I was able to pick up Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the gold edition that normally retails for $100. I picked it up for $25.
Oh damn!
Yes, and it is
thrifty.
Yeah, and it's
thrifty.
Surprisingly, really, really good.
Yeah, the reviews for it came out like it was super great, right? Weren't they like 8.59?
Yeah,
like across like all the major sites.
Oh, it was wonderful. But like, it's interesting because you get to choose whether you want to play as a male or female, because it's like a brother and sister story.
Yeah, it's like Cassandra and
Alexios.
Alexios. Which great name. Gonna name my kid Alexios.
I like it.
And he's gonna talk like this.
No, they have like, that's the only thing. The voice acting is a little like, but I get it. Like they're trying to speak with like an ancient Greek accent, but in English. So
easy for sure.
Easy
to pull off.
They reached really hard on that one, and they fell a little short, but it's not terrible.
But who are you? By the way, who are you playing it through as? Because I've heard that Cassandra's the better playthrough.
Really? Wow.
Like I've heard that the game feels way more natural and makes more sense with playing it through it with Cassandra.
I mean, I think I just honestly chose the chick because I'm almost always the guy in one of these games. So I was like, why not?
I think when they originally wrote the storyline, it was with Cassandra as the main character in mind. I think she's the canon character for that storyline. I believe. I
mean, having met Alexios in the game at this point, I'm kind of glad, because he is like a gigantic douche canoe.
For sure. Yeah. Everyone says that he's just like this shitty, like arrogant.
He is just the shittiest person ever.
Cocky piece of shit. Yeah. I mean, with a name like Alexios, come on.
Yeah. We did learn though that the Greek word for asshole is malakas.
Malakas. Is it like that? Malakas.
Yeah. Not maracas, but malakas. So
not malangas?
No, it's not malangas either.
Okay, so malakas.
Malakas. So next time you want to call somebody an asshole in ancient Greek, just refer to them as malakas.
Yeah, I think it's going to be definitely very evident that I'm insulting them based on the way you have to pronounce that word, because it's aggressive as shit, but I'll try it out. Like if I'm just at a Publix, malakas, they're like, I don't know if you put a spell on me or called me an asshole, but...
You're a sorcerer, aren't you? Be like, yes.
We're going to have words outside this Publix.
We are, and those words are not going to be malakas. However, I did want to tell you something interesting about this game. there is a portion of the game, like a level, where you find
Yeah.
this like weirdly like hidden sort of like a deserty kind of island. And there's like a secret cave structure thing built into the side of the island.
Uh-huh.
But when you go inside, it's kind of like this dark cave, and there's like blue light coming from the inside of it. And like when I first got there today, I kind of got like maybe like a minute into that level, and I had to like stop because it reminded me of like really deeply, it reminded me of this like dream that I had, like a recurring dream that I had a lot as a kid. And then this
God, this game like touched unopened parts of your mind.
Apparently.
Jesus.
But
Okay.
it happened like a week or so ago, and that had sort of reminded me that we had wanted to do an episode dedicated to dreams.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had talked about this, this is episode 28. I think we talked about this almost 10 episodes ago.
Yeah, we did actually.
And so
it might even be more than that.
Yeah, no, possibly. I mean, we've had so many different like episode topics on the back burner that it's embarrassing at this point. So I reached out to the person that in my lifetime knows the most about dreams.
Mm-hmm.
That being
Miss Cleo.
Yes, call now for your reading.
Yes.
I know.
Man, I'm telling you, when those infomercials would come on, I was so tempted as like a 12-year-old to be like, what if I just got my mom's card? Just to find out of my future. Do I need to stay in school? Is algebra really going to get me through life? I need to know.
Is love waiting for me somewhere?
Is love waiting for me? Where does my career lie?
Is that man cheating on me?
I can't believe you got here all the way from jail.
I did.
It is unbelievable.
This is going to be awkward.
I have a connect.
Oh, God. All right. So that being said, I wanted to introduce for, I think, the second or third time in your life and the first time in the rest of you's lives, I wanted to introduce my sister, Effie. She's the oldest of the three of us, otherwise known as an ancient millennial. She's also a veteran tattoo counter girl, the co-editor of This Is Meant to Hurt You, an art publication about tattoo culture, photography, fine art, and music. You can also find her at Effietron on Instagram. And at some point, you're going to be able to find her on TikTok. She told me she's still figuring that part out, but let's not blame her for that. Ladies and gentlemen, the oldest, Effie, my sister.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. Finally.
Gentlemen, it's a pleasure.
It's about time.
How are you doing on this auspicious day?
How are you doing? I'm doing well. You know what? I'm not going to lie. The first few weeks of the quarantine, I was really thriving, like not having to go to work and put in those hours every week, and being able to really like enjoy being at home was very therapeutic for me. But I will go through what has been now popularly referred to on social media as the hell zone, where I just have a really fucking bad day, and it's like a standalone appointment that happens every, I don't know, just about once a week. I think it's like my schedule to have a full-on freak out meltdown. But here I am. We're doing fine.
We're surviving. We're getting through the meltdown.
We're powering through.
Yeah, I was telling a friend of mine that because we went to go visit my friend's mom and our other friends in Lakeland. It was like the straw that broke the normalities back in my life, because I was working while like going on vacation and going from city to city and like just waking up, doing a little bit of work and then hanging out. So like my sense of normalcy is totally gone now. Like I don't know what day it is. I don't know if it's a work day, if it's a weekend, what's happening. So.
Well, I had to finish a semester of school. Like we were basically in the home stretch of my last semester. Or of this past the spring semester, and that got cut off abruptly for like 2 weeks, where it was like, okay, we're trying to figure shit out, and then we transitioned to remote learning, and it went fine. I aced it, and we were just like, all right, let's I guess see what happens moving forward. And I'm registered for summer, and that's going to be all online. And then I guess the plan is to start opening the campuses again for like in-person classes in the fall.
So you're not even going to go back are you even going to go back to in-person classes? Because if that was last semester, are you like done now?
If I had the choice to never step foot on a college campus again, I promise you, I would do everything online.
I agree with you. Totally agree with you.
Like, unless I had a super duper hottie of a professor, no, I'm sorry. My motivations are shallow, and I stand up in my trash. That's who I am. It's showbiz, baby.
I've actually heard Elias say the same thing. I mean, the only thing that gets him out of bed, is a hot piece of professor ass. Other than that, you can't get him in a classroom.
Uh-oh.
I mean, what can I say? Listen, if they're up there and they're teaching and, he's using big words and he's taking command of the class.
Is it the authority? Is that really what drives it?
It is. It's that and the whole, like, I'm the difference between you failing and not failing, so let's work out a deal type deal. That's usually how it works.
Oh, okay.
I would like to connect to this podcast immediately.
Yeah.
And we're just going to end this broadcast real quick. Hold on.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
So I actually didn't know before Elias had brought this up originally that you were like super into dreams, or actually knew like a lot about dreams and had like kind of like grown up knowing them and studying them and stuff like that. Is that always something that you've been interested in?
I always had super vivid, intense dreams as a kid. And once I connected with the little witchy, esoteric side of my personality, like into like transitioning into high school, was when I really started kind of exploring, got interested in, psychics, the occult, all that stuff. And then at some point in high school, I can't remember, I must have been around 15 or 16, me and Eli's mom went to go see a psychic that came highly recommended to her by a very dear friend of the family, who was a massage therapist, and she was an aromatherapy practitioner, and she was very like into that whole new agey alternative healing world of like Reiki and stuff like that. And so yeah, Letty.
Oh, okay. I miss her.
So I miss her too, man. So she got our mom in touch with a psychic. My mom went to go see this person. And of course she was asking about like, well, what's going on with my kids? I've got 3 kids, like tell me what's up with them. I want to know sort of what's in store for them, or like what they should be aware of or whatever. And she was told particularly about me. I don't remember anything that was talked about regarding you, Eli, or our sister Gabby.
Who cares?
Let's be real. That's what I was really listening for, was like, okay, what's going on with me?
What's happening?
Like the other 2 will be fine.
Yeah.
The psychic told my mother that I had a very, very powerful, innate sense of intuition, and that where I could really focus that was in my dreams, was by paying very close attention to my dreams, that they would act as a guide for me.
Okay.
I don't know how accurate necessarily that is, but it became sort of like out of habit that I would try to spend the first waking moments remembering what I had dreamed, because dreams have a tendency, no matter how intense they are, if you don't sit there and process them when you're fully awake, they sort of wash away like something that you wrote in the sand.
Yeah, like in 5 minutes after waking up.
Right.
Then they're gone.
And then you might have like a moment in the day that something like kind of reminds you, oh shit, that's right, I had a dream last night.
But it's like a whisper of a memory. It's not even like a whole.
Exactly. It's like a weird little memento situation.
Yeah.
So there, like in high school, I would journal my dreams. I had this very cool book called The Dreamer's Dictionary. I actually ordered myself a used copy of it because the copy that I had of it in my teenage years got, lost in the sauce. But yeah, I would use this as sort of a reference point, and I can't really speak to its accuracy. I think that where I ultimately landed was that I could do a good enough job of interpreting what the symbolism in my dreams were without the use of an outside reference.
Okay. So like when you looked at your dream, was it from perspective of like a clairvoyancy, like this is something that maybe is coming to me that's going to show me something that's going to happen? Or was it from an angle of like, oh, these are things that are going on in my life and my brain is processing these things and showing me them in like a certain way to maybe allow me to work through them or find a different way forward? Like, what was your kind of philosophy on it?
So I think that it falls somewhere in between. I don't think that I have the power of premonition or clairvoyance in my dreams, but I do think that they get me in touch with my intuition and my gut sense, which is something that I struggle with in my waking life, where I feel like I can't really tap into that voice and listen to it because all the background noise of daily life is too loud. So it becomes a little bit difficult for me to tap into that reflex during the day. But then I think that every dream that I have is sort of my brain's mini therapy session of kind of dragging everything out of my subconscious and laying it all out for me and trying to basically make a little mini movie to show me like, this is what your heart really wants, or this is what you really need right now, or this is what is really stressing you out right now.
Yeah.
And this is what you have to fix. These are the problems that you have to confront. So yeah, I think that they have a lot of merit in that sense, in almost like a psychological therapeutic sense.
Yeah, that's okay. So that's kind of awesome to hear, because that's the way I think about dreams, is that they are very much your mind's attempt at like categorizing, organizing, and kind of inferring all of the things that are going on to help you move forward and become like a fuller person. But I am not a person that ever has remembered dreams, really. Like, I very, very rarely, I mean, when I was a kid, a little more, but like as an adult, I rarely remember my dreams. Like, I'll wake up and it's like blank slate, like nothing. And I don't know, maybe if it's like a lack of journaling or like a lack of like actively trying to remember or pay attention to the things that happened, but I never was able to kind of like remember that. So when I hear about someone who has like very vivid dreams, like my wife Christy has vivid dreams growing up, that was like every week she would call me and tell me about a dream that I was like, that's weird and freaky. She would like freak me out with her dreams. But I've never been a person who's been able to like really experience those except for like a few times in my life. So it's always very interesting to hear from someone who like has a bunch of experiences like that.
Yeah. There's dreams that I remember like from my childhood, like from being a teenager, that like I still remember, and like it was stuff that I didn't even write down necessarily as a kid. They just really, really stuck out.
That like impacted you that much, like you woke up and you were like, whoa, I'm a different person. I'm a different person after seeing that.
Yes. Yeah. Or that like, yeah, they just had such a profound impact on me that like they just stuck as if they were like a real life experience or a memory.
That's kind of, so growing up, when you started getting into it and you would use it to kind of allow that part of your mind to come forward and get like the clarity it needed, did you find that it helped you moving forward, like after you started journaling and paying attention?
It has become more of a like a self-help tool now in my adulthood, because I think that as a kid, I was just kind of enjoying the ride of like, whoa, this is what a fucking experience. You know what I mean? Like I was just, now I think that I have a little bit more maturity to use it as just a supplement to other kinds of tools towards well-being, the way that I, have had gone to Reiki healers. I fuck around with tarot cards sometimes, but like I go to therapy too. So like this is part of like my arsenal of things that I use to help me feel better.
Okay, so it's part of a grander net of things, like your utility belt.
Whereas before it was almost like entertainment in a way. It was just part of like the experience, of the overwhelming experience of being a teenager.
Okay. So it was almost like playing like the movie of being a teenager and like the teenage struggle and stuff like that.
Yeah, and having fun, looking through the dictionary and go like, that's so weird. Why did I dream about like a snake? You know what I mean? And trying to figure that out and cross-referencing with stuff that I found on the internet, and
or if a friend comes up and it's like, I had a dream that I was like on like rowboating on a lake with whoever. Like, what do you think that means? And then going through it and talking about it and stuff like
exactly.
that. Yeah. That's all. And then as you got older, it became more like it shifted into like something that was a little bit more like useful rather than entertaining.
Correct.
I mean, I've never, so one of the things that I've experienced in my dreams is very rarely am I a subject of a dream. I'm usually always an audience member. So I'm always usually watching the action occurring, and then kind of like almost like a camera in a video game. Like I like move around what's happening. But only when I was younger, and like if I had like a chase dream, or like someone was chasing you, or you're falling. Those are the only times I've ever had dreams where I felt like I was actively a part of it. Like I didn't know what was going on. I was just like, wait, what's going on in here? And then something would happen. But other than that, it was always like an outside view. Is that, I don't know if that, I don't think it's lucid dreaming or anything. I don't know what that is, but is that something that you've ever experienced?
Okay, let me ask you something. Do you ever experience almost a sense of bilocation when you're dreaming, that you say that you feel like a passive audience member, that you're just a spectator, but do you ever feel like you kind of toggle back and forth between being a spectator and being a participant? Because that's my dream experience almost always, is bilocation.
I don't go into, like, I don't transition between being involved and just being an audience member, but I am so engrossed in what's happening that I remember, like, I'll stay sleeping in order to try to get back into the dream to finish out whatever was happening in the dream, because I'm like so engrossed in the story of what's happening. Even if it's kind of like a nightmarish scenario or whatever it is, I always want to see the entire story through to the end.
So you have been able to go to sleep or wake up after waking up from a dream and then going back to sleep and returning to that same dream? Not the same as it was before, but enough to like progress the narrative of what was happening in my dream a little bit. If I'm woken up and then I'm able to like be left alone and go back to bed, I might slip back in, but usually it's like halfway back. But yeah, I get like
kind of back there.
I have like a 15 to 20% maybe like success rate with doing that, because sometimes there's dreams that you're just like, no, not the alarm. Let me go back. Take me back. And like,
yeah, it's like I don't want to commute now. I want to finish what the fuck my brain was telling me. Yeah, for sure.
Have you guys ever had reoccurring dreams?
Just recently, I had a series of recurring dreams, and they all involve snakes. And so of course, I woke up and the dumb sort of, teenage boy that lives deep within me was like, you're dreaming about dicks. That's what it is. There's a very like Freudian aspect to that.
Look at all these slithery dicks on the floor in your dream.
But like, okay, so most of your dreams are stress dreams. I think most of your dreams typically are stress dreams. So snake is really just an avatar for a situation or a person that you find dangerous, threatening, unpredictable, because somebody who likes snakes and feels comfortable, like mostly comfortable, holding one or whatever, still, like, if I encountered one in the wild, my reptile brain perceives that as a threat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so your brain, your subconscious is just firing off and personifying or anthropomorphizing a stressful situation or a person and making it into like a more, I guess, simplified, problem to deal with, and like something more tangible that you can deal with, and not just like this cloud of, oh, things are weird at work and I've got all this stuff to do, and like there's somebody that might, like I'm beefing with, or that I, might have it out for me or whatever. Your brain kind of like is like, all right, let's reduce and reduce and reduce and reduce until this is at like some base level of like something that you can really process and understand. But yeah, I've had recurring dreams about snakes, and like I wonder, I guess in a more esoteric way, if it's like, oh, is there somebody untrustworthy around me, or there's someone that I'm dealing with trust issues with that, that I like, and that is in the same way that the way that I feel about snakes personally, that I like them, but that I know that at any moment, if I make a wrong move, they're gonna bite me and fuck me up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my most recent recurring series of dreams, and I've had other series before. So like they were so good and so vivid that I would connect them to like real life places, and I would miss them. I'd be like, oh man, I wish I could go back to like that series.
Oh wow. So, and was it the same exact dream every time, or is it like very similar?
No, it was like an episode after episode. It was like serialized. It was the weirdest thing.
Oh, like it was like a season of this.
Sort of. It didn't really follow a plot line. It was almost like a David Lynch movie where you're just like, okay, we started with a coherent story, and now things have like gone way off the fucking rails.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, but I just loved being in it. It was so immersive. It was like a VR experience. It was super cool.
Yeah, that I can understand, because like when I want to go back into my dream when I wake up, that's how I feel. I'm like, no, wait, I wasn't done there. I want to go back in there. I want to know more.
Yeah.
So like I can totally understand that, but I've never had like a recurring dream. What do people say that like recurring dreams stem from? Like, or like, is there any like idea of what causes like a recurring dream?
I don't know what the official like theory on recurring dreams is. My bad. I probably should have looked that up, but I think that in my case, it was just that whatever life experiences I was processing at the time that I was having these recurring dreams, which is kind of a major sort of transition point in my life where I was still in a very familiar setting. And so I think that my brain was sort of like making the Lifetime movie of like what was going on in my life at the time. And so it picked this beautiful setting, which is where I worked at the time. I worked in a really beautiful part of town. I worked in Coral Gables, and all these dreams would take place in different parts of the Gables. Like, because I worked there, I was there, I spent so many hours there that was like what my brain sort of picked as like, all right, this is going to be our setting. And
this is where you spend most of your time.
Right. Yeah. So I think that was really it. And that it was, again, like it was like a therapy tool for me to process the anxieties and stress that I had going on, but it kind of made it in this like really fun cinematic way. And I think that that's what I needed, because what was going on in my life at the time was it was like really intense, but also like incredibly monotonous in a way.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just something that like your waking mind was like not, this isn't something that I'm going to, kind of deal with like in the forefront. And then you're just allowed to do that later on. Is that so the dreams, is that something that kind of is a familial thing? Like Eli, do you have, or just Gabby have like vivid dreams and stuff like that?
Yep. My dreams so I exclusively dream from the perspective of like the dreamer, like I am the participant. But in all of my dreams, I'm the lead role, so to speak. So
you're the man on fire.
Yes.
You're Denzel in your dream.
I am
First
Denzel.
person shooter.
Yes. But it works either way. Like whether the thing happening to me is like good, bad, mysterious, intriguing, funny, whatever, it is directed entirely at me. And I think like my earliest, most vivid recurring dream is likely from when I was a boy. Like I was like probably between the ages of like 5 and 7 or 5 and 8, but it happened for years on and off. And I still remember the dream like super vividly. And I think there reached a point where I never had the dream again. I have memories of the dream when I'm awake, but like I've tried to think about it before going to bed to force myself to go back to that dream space, and no dice. It never happens. I've had like another series of recurring dreams since I was 24, 25. So yeah, about like the last 5 or 6 years now, going on like the same dream. I have it like almost once a month.
You've had a recurring dream once a month for how long?
Like almost 5 or 6 years now.
Wow, that I literally have never dreamed a dream twice, so I don't even. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. So once a month for 5 years.
Just about.
I'm sorry. Can I interject here for a moment, James?
Go for it.
So if you are just an audience member in your dreams, what are you observing? Is it people that you know mostly, or is it strangers?
Sometimes it's people I know who are involved in the dream. And then other times it is it's almost like it's definitely it's usually like one. So when it's not people I know, it's like usually one antagonist or entity that's like almost like a villainous figure, and then it's like a small group of people I don't know, but they look like people I know. It's almost like, I think it's like my brain putting together like a person out of like parts of people I already am familiar with. Like when like a computer program does it to make like a random person in the background of an ad or something like that. It's like almost taking the different pieces of someone's face and like rearranging it. So they're like a new person, but very familiar because
an amalgam.
Yeah. So like, it'll be like that kind of thing. And then I'll be watching this horrible thing going on happening to them. But it's weird because I'm always just watching it. I'm always just on the outside, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh, run. He's going to get you. But I'm never the one getting chased. I'm never the one like, oh no. Very seldomly am I.
That's so weird. I never have anybody else in my dreams.
Yeah, I'm almost like I don't know. It's weird. It's like I'm like a weird like curator of it. I'm just like there, like, oh, what's gonna happen here? What's gonna happen there? And then if I'm like awake and I try to go back into it, like I'll like actively try to change things. I'll actively try to like move stuff around. But like if I'm deep in sleep, I won't do that. It'll just be me spectating what is going on.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I'm a weird dreamer.
People tell you their dreams and like you're not involved in them in any way, because I fucking hate it. Like if you're gonna tell me about your dream, I better have been in it and this better be a good story. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. This is I don't care.
I'm used to Christy being mad at me for me being in her dream. So she almost conditioned me for like when she mentions a dream and I'm not in, I'm like, oh fuck. Thank God. So I got so used to her waking up and then kind of giving me like a side eye where I was like, well, I knew something was up, but I was like, oh, maybe she just, I don't know, maybe she just like woke up and she got like a text message she didn't want or something, whatever. And then she would like tell me about the dream and how in the dream, like I blatantly cheated on her. And then when she addressed it, I was like a total dickhead. And it was just like, well, I don't give a fuck. I'm just doing whatever I want. And I'm just like, that's not me. And she'd be like, I know, but it was you in the dream that hurt. I was like, I'm sorry that my dream self is an asshole. But every single time she's dreamt about me, I'm an asshole. Every single time.
Yeah, that shit feels real, dude. Like I've woken up mad at boyfriends.
Because their dream self was an asshole.
For being dicks in dreams to me. And again, that's just stress. You're you're always worried, I guess, in the back of your mind that your partner is not going to be as devoted and as loving to you as you're hopefully used to.
Yeah.
And that is just your brain sort of doing something with that snowball of shit that accumulates in your brain and trying to dump it out somewhere so that the next thing you can be like, you still love me, right? And you get that hug and kiss and it's like, okay, we're good. I won't have another dream of you being a dickhead to me for a long time.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. I actually have a funny like dream anecdote about that same topic. My a friend of mine who I used to work at the Starbucks, he was dating this girl and they ended up breaking up, and like the last portion of the relationship ended up being like really rocky, and there was just a lot of problems in the relationship in general, but they were having like a lot of issues. And one night they were sleeping and he was telling me the story that he didn't know what happened, but she like started pushing him. She was like, who is it? Who are you thinking about? What the fuck's going on? And he was like, whoa, what? She's like, I heard you. You were making all this noise in your dream and saying how good it was and all this stuff. And he was like, I'm telling you the truth. He's like, I was dreaming about fried chicken. I was dreaming about going to KFC and getting a bucket of fried chicken. And she's like, you're such a fucking liar. You got a bitch on the side. And he was like, I promise, I swear to God.
Who are you talking to? Jake from State Farm.
Yeah. I was only thinking about chicken titties, not other people's titties.
Okay, question for you guys. Have you ever had a sexy dream about someone and chosen to tell them? And if so, what were your results?
Mine, I don't think I have.
Nope.
Have I?
Negative.
Nope, negative.
Well,
Have I?
I mean,
I'm honestly, I probably haven't. I'm trying to think if when I was younger, I used it as like a line.
Okay.
I don't think I did, and I don't think I have. Well, no, I've had sexy dreams of people I know, but I've not told them.
yeah, no, like same thing. Like I've had like the quick like sexy time dreams of somebody else where I'm like, hey, I'm not. What do you?
No, I'm a liar. No, I did have a dream and I did tell someone. No, and that backfired very well, very poorly.
You're like, I'm never doing this shit again.
No, and I was like, oh, did I repress this memory? I repressed it. Yeah, I repressed that memory hard.
Push it back. Yeah. Push it back deep down inside.
Like, nope, delete that shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, fucking, I don't know if you know this, but he knows this, but I'm bi. So when I was younger and I had a dream about my friend, I was like, oh man, this is like, maybe this is like a sign. And maybe it's my brain like, oh man, we haven't noticed these things that he's been doing too. And then I was like, hey, by the way, this happened and I feel this way. And then he was like, that's a hard pass, buddy. That's a hard. And then the friendship was weird. And then the friendship was weird for a while. And it kind of was like, oh, what's going on here? And then, but we're actually friends now. So it ended up working out, but it did not go as that. In my brain, I was like, oh, this is going to be.
As a single person, I've had that like dice roll moment of the next day where I'm just like, God damn, like either I had a dream about somebody that I was not previously attracted to and suddenly felt very attracted to in the wake of the dream and thought.
Which, by the way, that's what I felt. When I woke up from that dream, I was like, oh my God, that was unbelievable. Because it was like a full on like.
Oh my God, I totally want to fuck Kyle. What the hell, dude?
Exactly. Fucking Kyle, dude. With
weird, his name is actually Kyle. No, it's not. I'm kidding.
With America's ass, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, yeah, I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I can't ignore these feelings. You know what I mean?
I can't get this feeling. Oh no, sorry, that's a copyright problem.
Millie, cut it. Or pay for it. No, don't pay for it. Don't pay for it.
I've never understood that though. Like if you have like a dream or like something like that about like the same sex, especially with dudes, like that happened in high school. I had like a classmate who was super duper gay. Like this kid probably peed rainbows, and he told me he had like a sexy time dream about me. We were like, it was like our sophomore year or whatever. And he's like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable or anything. And I was like, uncomfortable? You know how fucking flattering that is? Are you kidding me? That means that now there are both sexes that want my ass. Yeah. And
I'm an equal opportunity hire.
There you go. You see? We don't discriminate around here. But I mean, yeah, I told him like, yo, hard pass, because I mean, I'm super straight, but still, like, that's awesome. Like, thank you. That's just the kind of confidence boost I'm looking for. I appreciate it.
That was a real nice way to react to someone telling you that. Because for a lot of people, that's
yeah, but I mean, look, if you break it down to its core components, it's somebody telling you that they find you attractive. If you just take like the sexual component out of it, and it's just somebody that finds you physically appealing, that's a wonderful compliment. That's like somebody telling you you're handsome in the middle of the street, and you're like, wow, thank you, I appreciate that. You know,
wholeheardily agree.
So
I've had dreams about people that I was already attracted to, and then I had a sexy dream about them, and then I had to do the whole like, am I gonna tell them? And I've done it a couple of times where I've been like, it's just so crazy that I'm running into you, and I would totally fabricate some reason to run into you. Like find some way to be like, oh my God, so weird. I was just in the neighborhood. Oh my God.
It's their car.
Yeah. You're like, oh, what? Pool by the penny. I love this place. It's the best thing ever. You don't even own a pool. It could not have been
more obvious that it was like I completely orchestrated running into this person, but they were always cool about it because I'm a woman and I can do whatever the fuck I want when it comes to that.
Yeah, when a girl tells you like an intimate dream that involved you as a guy, if you're a single guy, you're like, is this how Tinder works?
My bets are already off.
Yeah, like, is this how Tinder works now? Are we just?
And you're like,
yeah. But then if you're like in a super committed relationship, then it gets weird because then you have to do the really polite, like, oh wow, I mean, thanks. Geez. Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I realize that I have something to do in a completely different part of the hemisphere now. I bid you adieu, madam.
Yeah, exactly. You're like,
back out of there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna back up into this bush now and disappear.
I mean, thankfully, that's never happened. Like, I've never been in the midst of a committed relationship and then had like an outside lady tell me like, "Hey, so I had this dream about you." I've thankfully never had that happen. But the closest it ever got, I think, was like in high school. I was talking to one girl, and then another girl who I was not really interested in told me that she had a dream about me, and I was like, "Damn it! Now I got to think about both of you this way. Why are you making this decision so difficult, woman?" So, and that didn't end up in my favor at all because, I never made a choice and I pussied out. So
I've had very aggressive interactions while I've been in a relationship with people walking up to me and hitting on me.
I mean, you are
uncomfortable.
As I said in the top of the show, the handsomest man in all of the cosmos.
No, I wish I wasn't, so I didn't have to deal with that.
Listen,
I've literally
Instagram.
I can literally say that I've stood in a bar and had my ass grabbed, just by like multiple people just standing there, people walking by like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Hey, don't grab my ass."
I mean, I've never had that happen, but
and then talk shit about my wife 15 feet away.
Wow, that's terrifying.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. Yeah, one girl when we were younger was like, she did that and then like was talking to her friend like clearly way too loud, too close to us, and was like, "Well, she's totally out of his league and she doesn't fucking even understand." I was just like, "Are you really fucking like standing close to us talking shit about?"
You know what though?
Like, you crazy?
Chicks, and this is not like an offensive thing or anything. Chicks can be sort of strange in that sense, where like I don't know if it's like bravery or if it's just like this like sense of self where they just like, "I don't give three flying shits," and they
I think it's just people, because guys do that too. Guys will stand there and talk shit about a guy.
Yeah, but guys are really dumb about it. Women almost use it as a special power. And you know what? Speaking about special powers, though, something that I've noticed specifically from women, whether it's like on TV shows or podcasts or like even in my own life, is that more so than men, and I mean that like by several factors of magnitude or orders of magnitude, women tend to be really good at like having like predictive dreams and shit like that, where they're like, "Well, I fucking knew that you were going to buy a red car." And it's like, "How did you know I was going to buy a red car? I saw it in a dream like 6 months ago."
Women's intuition's real.
That's, bro, 150%. It's like a fucking 6 and possibly even a 7th or 8th sense.
We are socialized as women to be in touch with our intuition. I think mainly in a misguided attempt to secure a husband and then keep said husband from fucking up. I think that it's always like kind of directed around the male gaze, but at least it's something that we're encouraged to be in touch with. You know, sadly, in our society, men are not taught to try and tap into those instincts.
We are. It's just we have a different name for it. It's called trusting your gut.
I think it's also like
rebranding. That's what it is.
Rebranding.
It's all about advertising. Come on. I
think also like women have a very unique worry in the sense that you have to worry more about like when there are guys around, you kind of have to also like intuit, like, is this guy going to be an asshole?
Is this person a threat?
Yeah, is this person a threat? Is this guy going to try to do something to me? Is this guy going to try to like hit on me and like, so I think that also plays into it where you're like, I need to make sure that I know who's around me and who's good and who's bad. So I think that also plays into it where a guy doesn't worry about it as much, right? Because you're just like, okay, well, you'll puff your chest and do it whatever guys do. But I think
now that we're like getting into the weeds, so to speak, on women and their special psychic powers, I know on a number of occasions, Effie, that you have told me, and like in conversations with mom and Gabby and dad, that you've had sort of like quasi clairvoyant, almost like premonition dreams, and probably the earliest one that I remember was your 9/11, like your September 11th premonition, and like that story was fucking wild, son. So please.
Well, yeah. Now we're definitely gonna have to hear this whole thing.
In, I guess, the couple of weeks leading up to the 9/11 attacks, I had a dream, and I remembered it because I wrote it down the morning after. And I didn't think about it again. Like, I wrote it down, fucking forgot about it. Like, it was just like, oh, that was weird. I had a dream that I was sitting on this sort of like grassy embankment, sort of looking over Miami International Airport. I was real close to like the tarmac. And there was a very large passenger plane. Like it seemed weirdly large. And I remember looking at it and feeling a weird sense of like unease. And then the fucker burst into flames. I don't remember much detail beyond that. I just remember observing this from an extremely close standpoint and being extremely fucking afraid. And that was it. I can't really remember much detail besides that. Whatever. Wrote it down, moved on with my life. 2 weeks in the life of a 17-year-old girl, and I was 17 at the time of the attacks. 2 weeks is a fucking eternity when you're 17.
Yeah.
Because block scheduling, class period is a fucking eternity when you're 17. So 2 weeks for me was like, that never happened or whatever. And then 9/11 fucking happens. And after the initial shock wore off, then I remembered this fucking dream where I was just like, did I see this shit coming? Obviously, there was nothing that said like, on September 11th at 9 a.m., Al-Qaeda is going to attack, whatever. Like that, it wasn't that. I wasn't given like a grocery list of details. I just had this, I honestly, I think it might have been a coincidence. Maybe I fell asleep watching the news and they were talking about a potential terrorist threat. And I just, that's kind of how it clicked or whatever. There's a million like rational explanations as to why I would have had that dream that were not, that I was tuning into, I was seeing the future or whatever. But it was still kind of wild. It was still a wild fucking coincidence, and I never forgot that shit.
I mean, that
never forget.
It's definitely a fucking crazy coincidence. By the way, I love that you always come from it from like a really real place where you're like, maybe it was this, maybe it was like something I heard on the news.
Yeah, because I don't want to set myself up. I really like, that's just a selfish part of me that like I don't want to set myself up for the disappointment of like, girl, you do not have superpowers. Okay, there's a rational explanation for all of this. Maybe try and like eliminate all real possibilities before you start getting into the woo-woo aspect of shit.
For sure. That's fucking, oh my God, that's spoken beautifully before you get into the fucking woo-woo aspects of this shit. Some people get too caught up in the woo-woo. But that's still pretty nuts. 2 weeks before the attacks on September 11th, you have a fucking dream where a commercial jet goes up in fucking flames in front of you. That's pretty crazy. Yeah,
and it wasn't like this thing that I felt any sort of a sense of alarm that I had to tell people like a dead zone fucking like I gotta tell the world, like I gotta somebody
it wasn't like
it was just like, that was fucked up. Okay, moving on with my life.
Yeah, like I don't know what that means, but I guess we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out later. Maybe I'm scared of flying. I have no fucking idea. Did you ever have any other like dreams like that, like before like a big event or?
No, I've had like little sort of premonitions or like little spidey sense dreams. Mm-hmm. But that one was the only one that I really believed was like maybe sort of a premonition. Other than that, they've been, if I have had them, it's kind of been like feeling indecisive, which I frequently do, and my dreams sort of telling me like, you know what you really want deep down. And that's really why I pay attention to my dreams to this day as much as I do, because I think that when I'm faced with choices and I feel paralyzed about making a decision, it's usually my dreams that will tell me. There's like I've heard it said before that like if you are faced with two choices, flip a coin, and whatever side you hope that it lands on is the right answer.
Fucking true words. And that's advice I heard growing up too. And I literally to this day will flip a coin and just catch it in the air and just be like, I already know what I want.
Exactly. You don't even have to look because like the decision, your gut made it for you in that moment because you were concentrating on something.
I had a college professor that always told us whenever, because we were trying to like get better at writing papers, and he graded like a set of essays that we did. and he asked everybody to tell him like what their major complaint about writing the paper was. And a lot of people said, I wanted to include this, but then I didn't because X and Y reason and blah, blah, blah. And he simply gave everybody back their paper and he goes, I'm going to give all of you an A, but I want you to rewrite the paper. And this time, keep something in mind. Whenever you're going to choose something, if you second guess, remember that whatever your first choice was is usually the right one. And sure enough, everybody started turning in their papers again, and everyone was turning in 2- and 3-page essays that were only supposed to be 1 page because they're like, yeah, my decision included a lot of detail and it was really fun, so thanks for that. And now like that has become one of those like sort of like guiding philosophies when I want to follow my gut is like, yo, whatever your first choice is probably the right one for you. So go ahead and go with that one.
Yeah.
Now, in relation to your 9/11 dream, since I know a lot of people like when 9/11 happened, as young as I was, I do remember, you know, hearing on the news and reading in the like the months and years afterwards, a lot of people had dreams about like mass casualties and like crazy, like bordering on like almost apocalyptic events and stuff like that. Did you have anything in the wake of 9/11 that was like a dream about death or anything like that, or mass casualty events, anything?
As far as like apocalypse dreams, I have had one, and that was actually like really recently. It wasn't like I'm sure that I had some fucked up dreams like, you know, in the months, you know, following 9/11, because that's such a huge life-changing event. You know, we live through history.
Yep.
And it completely changed the way that we live. It reshaped everything. So I'm sure that I had some super fucked up nightmares, but as far as like a full-on apocalypse dream, like I had like maybe a year ago, some like full-on, like, I mean, it would have been like a fucking Francisco Goya painting. And I have never been so certain in a dream that I was going to die. Like, I knew that this was the end, and I was watching all kinds of carnage going on around me, and I knew it was the end of the world. Like, I knew that this was it. This was some, like, Lovecraftian, fucked up shit, like, you know, just people dying in, like, elaborately hideous ways all around me. And I was like, this is it, dude. I was climbing some sort of, like, Indiana Jones type structure. Like, I was like, I don't know how far I'm going to get, man, but I know this is it. And that, I spent the whole next day sort of processing that by looking up like works of fine, because there was something about the dream that was like incredibly artistic to me. Like it reminded me, I was like, there's gotta be something in like classic, like fine art that, that I can tie to some, you know, painter from back in the day, like putting this on a canvas. And so I found Hieronymus Bosch, The Garden of Earthly Delights, and there's like a panel, like in a triptych of the apocalypse, and he's like illustrated hell and, you know, whatever, and his shit's like real dark. That was super dope, like getting to connect with that. Francisco Goya, Saturn devouring his son, like I felt that shit. Like it wasn't quite related, but I was just like, that hits different today. I've seen
By the way,
before, but
Saturn devouring his son is one of the most unsettling images to look at. Like just staring, when you stare at it long enough, you just start seeing, oh my God, you start seeing like different shadows in there, different like little dark spots that you didn't notice before. It's fucking, it's and so.
You wonder, like, girl, what were you going through in that moment? Like, I know that you're depicting something that's like mythologized and written about already, but like, you painted that, you did that.
But it's like, but it's something that was always. It's mythologized, but it was always something that was done in a very like grandiose way, right? Because you're talking about a mythological figure, a god, but like he painted it in like the most graphic, like grotesque, like Saturn looks sickly, almost like disgusting, like eating this, like it's like this half-eating corpse. Like
psychosis personified.
Yeah,
like
yes.
Hear about somebody having a full-on psychotic break, like that
like
is
schizophrenic
what I think
break.
that looks, or yeah, just any sort of like a major mental health episode. That's what I think it looks like. Like it's that painting.
It's just dark. It's dark.
Yeah. So that was cool. That kind of helped me process the horror of that dream, because I was all fucked up about it the next day. But I'm like, all right, so how am I gonna work this out? And,
by the way, that's another question I kind of had was, how did you at first, when you started having dreams like that, where you don't even understand where it's coming from really, if like, you're that young, how did you kind of deal with that? Like, was it like, were you like scared at first, or was it more of like, oh, this is interesting, let me look into it, and hence you looked into it?
No, I mean, when you're a little kid and you're young or whatever, and you don't know that there's like any sort of a science really behind dreams, you just know that it's something that happens when you sleep. You have a nightmare, you tell your folks, like, I had a bad fucking dream, I can't sleep. You crawl into bed between your parents, and, hopefully you go back to sleep and it's not that horrible anymore. Or you lay awake, looking at the ceiling. I guess it wasn't until like high school that I started trying to process my nightmares and trying to figure out like, some sort of divination, I guess, as to like what the fuck they meant. But yeah, I've had super vivid nightmares. Like that was, definitely one of the ones that like really stuck out. That I had a nightmare in high school it was crazy. That shit was like all in black and white, which is the only time that that's ever happened, where it was like, I remember it was like this very crisp 4K Ultra HD, like black and white. And it was like this wild, like showdown, you know what I mean? And that was another like, ooh, I came close to dying in that dream. That was like a hot dream topic, right?
What was that dream about with the black and white one? Like, do you remember what happened in it?
Confrontation. It was weird. I was like on horseback, and there were a bunch of like little children of the corn looking motherfuckers also on horseback, but like carrying like slingshots and like kids' toys and like little BB guns. But then one of them shot me in the arm and I started bleeding out. And yeah, I was just having a showdown with these little white boys. It was weird.
I love dreams so much.
I don't know what it meant. I don't know. Like,
don't
you wake up, you're like, maybe I don't want kids.
Like cinematic, experience.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, yeah, I've never dreamt in black and white. That's like a whole nother. That's like a whole other thing. I don't even.
Watching a lot of Zorro reruns. Black and white dream ever.
Yeah.
Ever.
Can't explain it.
All my dreams have always been in like full fucking like HDR color.
Yeah, all my dreams are super colorful. Like rarely is it even the one thing I will always remember about my dreams is that everything is very vibrant. Like everything's really everything is really crisp when I remember them.
Yep.
Which, by the way, speaking of like crisp and memorable dreams, something I brought up earlier that I wanted to ask you about. Have you ever lucid dreamed? Like gone full inception, be able to like work with it and like mold it a little bit?
I've had a handful of what I thought were lucid dreams. Okay. It was not like, oh shit, like I'm having this moment of coming to where like I'm in the driver's seat. I'm gonna turn this whole car around and we're gonna like really have some fun. It's been like I've had like almost like a passing feeling in the dream that I was dreaming. Oh,
okay.
And like sort of knowing like, oh, this isn't real.
Oh, like Inception.
But my control, my ability to control it was almost like driving a car where the steering wheel is super loose and the brakes are really squishy, where I couldn't fully control what was going on, and I was still very immersed in the experience. I just had this weird sense of safety that like there was no real danger or threat to me, so I could kind of enjoy it a little bit, but I couldn't really alter the events that were going on.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense to me. It's almost like if you're trying to punch someone in your dream, where you're consciously like, I'm gonna try to punch you, but you're like, why am I going so slow? Where like you don't have that full control to like do what you want, but you can you have some cognition as to what you want to do.
I had a dream that I confronted a guy that ghosted me in like a grocery store, and I was having a full on like, fuck you, like a very satisfying like, just like yelling at him, cussing him out. And then I started grabbing stuff off the shelves and throwing at him. And they would just, it didn't matter how heavy the object was in my hands. When I threw it, it would just flutter like fucking loose paper. And it was the most frustrating shit, because then he started laughing at me. I'm like, no, this isn't going the way that I wanted.
You're throwing like a whole aisle shelving at him. He's just like ah.
Yeah, I'm throwing Swiffers at this motherfucker, bags of rice, like
so
heavy shit.
I actually read last year. I remember there was an article talking about why that is. Like, why it is that you run super slow and you punch like you're fucking punching through molasses.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah. Apparently, the idea is that your subconscious knows that you're dreaming and realizes when you're trying to do that shit. So to stop you from hurting yourself in your sleep, It's like, no, slow down there, Tex. We're not doing that. You gotta settle down. So it makes you fucking just chill. So it like it like legitimately like it retards blood flow from like your arms and your legs if it feels like you're having those like feelings like about to do stuff. So your muscles can't and your ligaments can't contract as quickly. So like that the only reason you've ever been able to feel like you can punch in your dream is because you're about to wake up. And they said the same thing about like that like twitch you get that like brings you back awake is because your body's about to do something in a dream that might actually cause you physical pain. So your body's like, no, turn the lights on for a second. Hold on. And that's when you get that quick, like, oh God, oh, Jesus, fell off the fucking cliff. Holy crap. But those like, let me tell you, that quick like falling reaction that makes you slip right back out of the dream world. There's something oddly satisfying about coming out of the dream really quick when you get that falling feeling and then slipping right back into sleep. There's like that moment where like I feel like it's the what's that that chemical, like I think it's serotonin or something that like floods your brain and it's like, hey, guess who's going back to bed?
I totally disagree with you. I hate it. I hate that feeling.
I feel
wholeheartedly.
very after.
Wait, but hold on.
Yeah, I remember.
I'm not saying I love the falling feeling. I'm saying like right after you slip out of the dream and you're like, oh, okay, I'm back in bed. What sucked? And then you slip right back into sleep. That slipping back into sleep is, oh my God. If they could bottle that
I'm telling you, I don't like. There are times where I'll slip back into sleep. But a lot of times I'm actually more awake afterward, and it keeps me up.
Oh no, I can't. If I get that
like
feeling, oof.
I've had a dream where like I get tackled and that's why I fall, where it's not just like you're just like falling slowly because you tripped or something like that. Like where I've had that, but like I've had one where I'm walking and all of a sudden like someone slams me from the side and I like wake up like that where I'm like, and I remember looking around and just being like, well, I'm not going back to bed because there's a demon in here and it's trying to murder me. So I would just sit there and just for half an hour just stare at the ceiling till like I got tired enough to fall back to sleep. Because my heart rate was just like.
James, have you ever had lucid dreams?
No, like the most I've had is like knowing that I'm in a dream and wanting to go back in it, which is like. But I've never been able to. Yeah, like Effie was saying, like I've never been able to be like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna make a fucking cow come out of this fucking ice cream machine. Like I can't do that.
Well, weirdly, that's where I'm at now with my recurring dream. Is that it happens so often now that like I know that that's what I'm in. I'm in the dream. So like I can affect shit now. Like I think I had like last month when I had the dream, I was able to change the weather a little bit. And it's not like, how can I explain it? Like when I'm in the dream, if I want to change something, it's more about a feeling. So like I have to like have a certain emotion about something. And if I like will it hard enough, it starts to change and I notice that it's changing. So I'm like, okay, good. So this is working then. But this started happening like maybe a year ago that I started to play around with the idea that I'm like, well, hold on a minute. I've been here before. What if I start like changing little things to make the dream more perfect? And so now it's like, if I had the dream tonight, I know that I could just change stuff at will. I mean, it's nothing weird like transdimensional. Like I can't pull a cow out of an ice cream machine like you asked for earlier. But like if I want the wind to blow, I can make the wind blow. If I want less clouds or more clouds, I can get less clouds or more clouds. I can adjust the temperature, like that kind of shit. And then I can cause certain sounds to happen, but that's about it. But outside of that, anything else that goes on is not like I'm not in the driver's seat. So
something that Elias brought up earlier that is something that I've witnessed but never fully experienced, and I don't know if maybe you've had it, is sleep paralysis. Yes. Like he was saying, sleep paralysis is like a natural occurrence of your body to like help you not harm yourself while you're sleeping. But obviously like there are complications with that where some people will wake up still in the middle of their sleep paralysis. And I've seen Christy go through it and had to like work her out of it the couple times it's happened. But has that ever happened to you?
Yes, it has happened to me a handful of times. It started the first time like in my late 20s. I would say about 5 years ago was the first episode that I had with it. I'm saying roughly 5 years ago. And I remember this because I was dealing with some pretty intense like insomnia streaks where I've always had a rough time getting to sleep. Staying asleep, not so much, but actually getting there has been fairly difficult for me. And I'm sure that is a genetic thing that I inherited because my dad's also kind of an insomniac. But so this one night I decided I was going to take something to go to sleep. It was not a specifically designated sleep aid. It was a powerful narcotic painkiller that I had left over from appendicitis surgery.
Those will help too. Those also help. Boy,
I knew that shit was gonna knock me out. So, yeah, I think it was like a Percocet or something. I was just like, well, fuck it, down the hatch. And that early that morning, I had my first episode of sleep paralysis, and where I realized what was happening to me. I knew that what was happening to me was sleep paralysis because I was in this weird liminal space between being asleep in a deep REM sequence and dreaming, where I'm like fully immersed in the dream and I cannot separate reality from dream, and being awake but unable to move, and I'm still in the dream, like I'm still a participant in the dream, except that I know I've got to snap out of it. So this panic begins to settle in me where I can't move anything. I can't open my eyes, I can't scream, I can't like to even twitch a muscle just to kind of snap me out of it. And I knew that that's what needed to happen to wake me up, and I was fighting like hell to sort of like understand what the hell was going on with my body and try to get myself to move. That was the only thing that I cared about, was like, just move, because then you'll wake up and this will be over. And that mounting panic sort of manifested as like what people commonly refer to as the sleep paralysis demon, you know, the dark stranger or whatever. And like, when I tell you, like, it is an orgasm of terror. Like, I mean, I've had panic attacks and anxiety attacks, like fully awake, and that's fucking scary. This blew all that shit out of the water. I have never been so fucking afraid in my life. And when I woke up, and it wasn't like I sat bolt upright and started screaming or anything. I didn't, you know, I just kind of woke up hyperventilating. And my partner at the time didn't notice anything was amiss. He didn't see me like frozen with my eyes open, like trying to move or anything. It looked like I was asleep.
It just looked like, it looked like another night. Just like, okay, just knocked out.
Yeah, like he would have never known that anything was amiss. But I woke up freaking out, and I like, you know, shook him awake, and I'm like, what just happened to me? And so it's happened a few times since then, and I figured out that the way to not have it become the most horrific experience ever is to know that it's happening, go, this is fine. I know that I'm going to wake up soon. And in a second, things will start working. And I just have to calmly sort of get into my body as much as possible and go, okay, let's start from like the tips of my toes and move my way up. Can I wiggle this? Can I twitch that? Can I, you know, anything?
Yeah, like Uma Thurman and Kill Bill, just like slowly kind of getting your body back.
A weird guided meditation mindfulness thing. And since I focus on that and not the panic of like, why can't I move? I know why I can't move. I'm having sleep paralysis. It happens to me sometimes now. I've never taken another like narcotic to go to sleep.
I would hope not.
Sleep aids, like I've taken anxiety medication and stuff. And so I know that there's definitely a correlation in some cases between medication and having these episodes, but I mean, sometimes they just fucking happen for no discernible reason. And I just, like, I already know how to get through it so that the demon does not appear.
Oh my God. But I can't, one of my biggest fears is like powerlessness. I mean, I'm sure that's a lot of people's biggest fears, right? Not being able to, you know, do the thing you need to do, but to be semi-conscious and not like feel paralyzed like that.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the amount of like panic, the amount of anxiety, and like just like the urge to want to move.
I figured out that like it's the fear that feeds the demon. You know what I mean? That like that becomes sort of a personification of the mounting panic of, oh no, I need to wake up. This needs to happen soon. And that's sort of like when you start that countdown in your mind of like, oh no, I need to wake up. I need to move. This isn't normal. Then that's when you start being aware of that shadow in the corner, and that's what feeds it. It's fueled off of that completely. So I'm knowing that I can just starve it of any oxygen by just going like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong here. This is a normal sleep paralysis episode, and I'm eventually going to start moving. So let's just get through it, shall we? And it's fine now. It happens sometimes, and it's very rare. And there is a split second of freak out where I'm like, this shit again. But once I calm myself down and start walking myself through the waking up process, it's usually fine. The weirdo does not appear.
That's awesome. That's definitely something I'm going to do with, because I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but with Christy, it happens some, like, it's very rare. Very, very rare. But sometimes she'll wake up like, and I'll be like, what happened? She's like, I was in like a full sleep paralysis state again. It's happened like a handful of times during, the time that, we've been together. But every time I'm just like, so, I mean, I'll definitely tell her that. Like, hey, try to breathe, try to like, which she does, but it's so sporadic too, that when it happens, it's almost like she forgets like what to do, right? Because you're in such a weird state that you're just like, wait, what do I do? But having like mindfulness and trying to keep track of like, hey, I know where I am. I know what's happening. I know this is going to pass eventually. Like, super powerful.
I'm not saying that I like will never experience that terror again, because there's so many factors that could, play into it, that I could, be going through like a particularly anxious, stressful time where my mind is too occupied for me to understand what's happening to me, that I might not be able to keep that thing from appearing. But so far so good. It feels like I've made like actual tangible measurable progress from when it first happened to my most recent episode, which I mean could have been, it was so inconsequential. It probably happened like a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like, I'm fine.
You're like, oh, it wasn't even.
I just did my like, all right, I'm awake. Like, that was it.
Like, oh, what? Oh, got it. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I can't even. And like, I know there are some people that happens to them like all the time, where like this is more of like a chronic issue.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some like neurophysiological sort of like pattern in people that experience it.
I mean, maybe it is just the way like their brain and their nervous system is put together that allows for that to happen more easily.
Yeah. And
so to allow your body to like break into consciousness while it's still in like that state of sleep paralysis. Mm-hmm. But man, the brain, just talking about all the different things that go on in dreams, and like just all of the things that can happen, different ways you can dream. I mean, like your brain is just kind of like this crazy, incredible machine that when you go to sleep, it just goes off. Like it's just like, all right, well, we're just gonna do what we do.
Let that bitch pop off. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like we're just gonna let this motherfucker spin. Like
I don't trust myself with like psychedelics, because it's just way too intense of an experience for me every time. Like I would,
because it's like a waking dream. Yeah.
Yeah, I would need like a psychedelic, like a Sherpa. Like I would need like a wizard guide to.
Hey, whenever you want, we'll guide you. We'll guide you over. That's how the way you use dreams. I use psychedelics.
Yeah, but my dreams are sort of like a. Oh, whoops, that was in my drink. Well, guess better strap in and enjoy the
figure it out, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to go ahead and start with that fucking weird bit of news that you decided to bring us, because thanks for making the world a stranger place, James.
Yes, you're welcome. So we like to do a segment. It's kind of new on the show, and it's called Weird News, and we like to talk about, and I thought it would be apropos to do a weird news story since all the news coming out recently has been quite doom and gloom. So this is kind of going to be a little bit more of a lighthearted yet weird piece. But this headline reads, Australian man acquitted after 2 allegedly enter wrong home with machetes for sexual fantasy, scare stranger. So, apparently, someone hired 2 Australian men to break into their house and I believe it's worded in the story, to break into their house, not assault them, but threaten them and intimidate him with machetes, tie him up, and proceed to stroke him with a broom. I'll let everyone's imagination kind of run wild with that sentence. But apparently, these Australian men got their evens and odds mixed up, and they went to the wrong house.
Oh shit!
And they came in through the wrong window to find someone, Terrence Leroy, a man who did not sign up for any kind of sexual fantasy where he was getting tied up and stroked by a broom. So they proceeded to run out the door, and he proceeded to call the police. So after much deliberation, the judge admitted that the circumstances for this case were quite strange and out of the ordinary, and based upon the testimony of not only the plaintiff, but the two parties involved that all kind of lined up and accounted for the weirdness, all charges were dropped, and everyone went home free. But holy shit, was that a fucking weird little story in the world.
Dog. And that could have gone so wrong.
Oh my God, that could have gone so... Like, what would you do if two guys came into your house with machetes?
I mean, like I said, clearly it's time to boogaloo, so... Also, it's my fucking house. Like, I know all the best hiding spots.
Also, can we talk about how far do you have to go sexually that the thought that your like thought of sexual excitement is getting fucking hogtied by two guys with machetes?
Don't kink shame, because that shit actually I think has a pretty like understandable sort of basis in your garden variety BDSM. If you are in terms of like kink terminology, if you are a sadist or a masochist,
mm-hmm.
all it means is that if you are a masochist on that end, is that you want to be on the receiving end of a thrilling experience.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be at the mercy of somebody else to provide that experience for you and provide the stimuli for you. Whereas a sadist wants to be the one in control and wants to be the one in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that get sexual gratification out of a major adrenaline rush. And like, what's fucking scarier than somebody breaking into your house?
Yeah, it's scarier than being held,
However,
hostage at machete point.
This is the reason why we have to have more comprehensive conversations about kink and about our preferences and negotiating our needs, our wants, our boundaries, and doing it in an intelligent, informed way. And do fucking dry runs, do dress rehearsals if you have to, you know what I mean? Like make sure you have the details locked down so that everybody...
Make sure you have the address right.
And that you don't break into the wrong motherfucker's house.
And you don't break into the wrong motherfucker's house.
I mean, that happened in Australia, thank God. They legally, I don't think they can have guns there. In Florida?
Yeah, I think that they all turned into... I think anywhere in the States. Minus New York and Chicago.
This is Australia we're talking about. You know that those guys, had they broken into an even wronger house,
boomerang to
come through with a machete, and all they would have heard from the darkness was, "You call that a knife?" And then they would have just ran. Like, that's it. I'm out. Fuck this. We broke into Dundee house.
We fucked with the wrong one.
Also, listen, have good safe words, because shit can get weird and dangerous.
No, yeah, but Terrence Leroy did not know any of the safe words.
Hold on, because with a name like Terrence Leroy, I'm surprised that anybody found those two guys that broke into his house. Because I feel like Terrence Leroy doesn't live in an apartment. I feel like he lives somewhere in the outback, and he just got fed up with them, and I don't know, he turned him into like freeze-dried emu food.
Yeah, he's like Terrence Leroy lives by his own rules.
He's a loose cannon.
When he finds men with machete, he makes lemonade,
Oh my God. Oh God. That was a wonderful weird story.
So that was my wonderful weird story. So if you thought that maybe your life was getting weird, well, there you go.
Nope, it ain't.
You didn't wake up to two men with machetes.
And when you said that they like the whole like part of the sexual act was going to be getting stroked with a broom. For those of you that remember 30 Rock, I just had a momentary flashback to there, Lemon. There. When Liz Lemon is vomiting in the fucking bathroom. Oh God. Oh God.
Let people like what they like, but let's have more comprehensive sex.
No,
Cruz exploring.
Yeah.
The whole spectrum.
Yeah, and nothing. And by the way, nothing wrong with wanting to get tied up and fucking stroked by a broom. To each his own.
Yeah, but let's not involve.
I just personally, as a person, don't understand that loss of control. To me is like, in my mind, just unacceptable. But I guess for other people,
well, then you may be a top, honey.
I definitely am a top. I'm what the Cubans like to call un bugarrón.
Oh.
What?
I like to give it. I don't like to receive it.
Gotcha.
So you're a pitcher.
But everyone likes their scrum licked. You know what I mean?
People should know what they are, though. Like, I think that those conversations need to happen.
I'm learning so much.
You know about tops and bottoms, versus.
Everyone should know that terminology. That should be some shit that like you are taught from the moment of like that you start reaching sexual
awakening. Yeah.
Right. So you understand, because that is the only way that you can really truly negotiate your wants and your needs and establish boundaries with, your partners.
I mean, listen, my safe word is Dole Whip. That's all I can tell you.
Dole Whip?
Dole Whip.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, thing is, like, I've heard of some of those terms, and some of them are sort of like very easy to get through word association, and others aren't. But I mean, listen, I don't like, if I'm not paying your bills, I don't give a shit what your sexual fantasies or sexual preferences are. They don't bother me. They don't increase my mortgage. I don't pay more taxes. There isn't more or less traffic. Things don't get more or less expensive because you want to have weird, sexual fantasies with other people. I don't care. Do what you do, dog. I don't like. There's that weirdness that like some people have where they're like, I need to control other people's sexual lives, and I'm like, no, you really, really don't, because it doesn't affect you in any way, physically, mentally, spiritually. It doesn't affect you.
That comes from just living in a patriarchy, honey. Like, that is really just the core of that fear is men's inability to control women. That's really all that it boils down to. When people start getting hung up on the intimate lives of strangers and trying to legislate what they do, that all comes down to like, I don't want to, I'm going to try to exert as much control over the way that women express their sexuality because of a deep insecurity of being unable to satisfy women. And giving them any sort of agency over their bodies.
I think it's also, besides like the woman's tilt on it, I think it's also just people trying to control people, right? Like, there are constantly times where people disagree with something, whether they're men or women, like they disagree with something and they want it to go away, or they don't want it to be something that is talked about or discussed, or even something that people do, right? Like, if you even take, like, let's say, religious institutions like Christianity and Catholicism that want to, kind of excise homosexuality or any kind of
that it remains as a taboo.
Promiscuity. Yeah, exactly. But like, it's people going, I don't agree with that, so I don't think you should be able to do that. Which
right,
in
and
any
let's make it too embarrassing to talk about so that anybody like explores it any further. But then that's how you get people showing up at the wrong fucking house with machetes to tie up the wrong guy.
Or that's why you find fucking Catholic school girls wanting to fucking go crazy when they get out of high school and go to college, and they go fucking nuts because you've been repressed and you haven't been allowed to experience who you are and fully kind of go through the gamut of all of your sexual kinks and fantasies and explore all of those things. So when you repress someone like that, like it's going to
come out one way or another. So if you're not willing to have those frank conversations and like get weird and deep in the weeds with people, then it's going to come out somehow, and it's not going to be good.
So maybe we look at this story like maybe it was a good thing. Maybe it was destiny. Maybe they should have broken. Maybe it was a good thing they broke into that house because now everyone can talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. Don't break into people's houses with machetes, but you know what I mean.
Don't do that.
Don't do
And
that.
especially here.
Unless you hire them to do it.
Plan your sexual scenes smartly.
Yes. Yes.
Learn how to read an address better. Just saying.
Learn how to read an address. Also, maybe invite that person over to your house before you do it.
Yeah.
And that way they know the whole
Do a dry run, if you will.
Yeah.
Put a balloon on the mailbox. Tie a balloon to the mailbox.
Tie a balloon to the mail. That's even better. It's like an it thing. It's even scarier.
Yes.
Bam. Done. I just made it better. Boom.
You made it hotter.
Why do I?
Made it hard.
Why?
Everyone wants to fuck Pennywise.
People. Jesus Christ.
You don't want to fuck Pennywise, dude?
You're not down to clown?
Bro, I bet he has like 86 dicks.
Let me tell you something before we leave. You know those videos of people who are just driving around and they'll be like, yo, what the fuck is that? And it's like one of those people trying to pull the clown pranks.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed?
When America had a clown problem?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's when life was simple. When that was the biggest problem we had here in America was the clown issue.
That was the beginning of the simulation starting to slip. Like,
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh, shit, the clowns are breaking through. God damn it.
Glitching out. We're like, oh, we went down the wrong timeline.
We didn't.
Fuck, who got adware in the fucking system?
None of a
Clowns
bitch.
everywhere.
But you know what I noticed is that in none of those stories, at least none that I saw, and I read a lot of them, at no point did anybody just pull up on a motherfucker and start clapping. Like, just plack, plack, plack. Let's do this shit. You're gonna die, son.
Because the clowns weren't pulling up in the hood.
No, but like they were pulling up in like the boonies. You think fucking Leroy's gonna pull up in a fucking jacked fucking F-250 and be like, "What's this fucking turd doing in the woods?" and just fucking shoot him? Like,
well, actually, there were a bunch of stories where people did chase them, not with guns, but there were a few that got chased with like bats and shit. And like once they got cornered and people were fucking starting to drop some fucking carnage on them, they were like, "Stop! I'm sorry. I'm not really a killer clown." It's like, oh, well,
but don't play the part if you're not willing to commit.
Don't play the games.
Yeah.
Maybe those people were like, "Man, maybe this guy is a killer clown. Let's check it out." He is Pennywise. Nope.
I mean, but that's why, dude. Shoot first. Never bother asking questions. Like, I don't got time for questions. I got time for shooting, rooting, tooting, shooting.
A clip for a clip leaves the whole world.
Like, I look at situations like the clowns, and I feel like Frank from It's Always Sunny. Be like, anyways, so there I was blasted. Like, oh god.
I definitely feel like life is sometimes an episode of Always Sunny.
A little bit.
I can agree with that sentiment. Yeah.
Well, no, every news story that's come out now, like anytime that I see anything on the news, whether it be like NPR or CNN or like Fox, anything like that, I feel like every news story needs to end like an episode from what's it called? What's the Larry David show?
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah. God, that fucking song is so perfect.
That's kind of like the soundtrack of
that shit was,
of current events.
It has to be either that or the Benny Hill theme song.
So is there anything else that we wanted to talk about besides machetes?
No, we can do an entire episode dedicated to machetes, I promise. No, other than that, let's wrap this up. F, where can everybody find you on Instagram?
You can find me at Patron. My shit is private, but you can shoot me a DM and be like, "Yo, I found you through the old dairy aisle. You seem like a pretty cool gal." My Instagram is trash, honestly. My social media is not curated in any way for mass consumption, but I don't know. Maybe this could be a turning point.
Whoa. More confidence. Your Instagram is a good Instagram. People go to her Instagram because you're going to make it better.
My stories are pretty lit. And you can get some great manicure inspiration, let me tell you.
There you go.
Or learn some awesome drink recipes, as I've found.
Also that, bitch. Yes, I have been mixing up some cocktails.
Yep.
There you go. That's awesome. You should fucking. Is that something you do all the time on there?
Be mixing.
That's right. So before we leave, I did want to let our listeners know that we got the results of the survey that we put out on SurveyMonkey, and I want to tell you, I'm disappointed in all of you. Okay. Because not enough of you answered. So we're going to go right now with the answers that we did get. And if you don't like those answers, then go answer the survey because we're going to post it again. Okay?
Hey, go do my little brother's fucking survey or I'll fight you. Because I'm.
Oh my God.
By the way, that's like the third time in my life that she's verbally defended me. So I'm going to write that down in a journal somewhere.
And she will fight you.
I haven't needed to before because you have such a fucking big mouth that like you end up talking your way out of shit.
That's usually
you took after me so much.
Well, it's that and my ludicrous good looks. So anyways, 77% of you listen to your podcast on Wednesdays and Fridays. So that being said, we sat down with our executive producer and we made the decision that instead of Tuesdays going forward, we are now going to be publishing episode on Wednesdays for you. Okay, it gives us a little more time to edit and also is a little bit more congruent with what you folks want. So there you go. The people spoke and we listened. Moving on, 66, almost 67% of you like our silly chemistry as a valuable element of the show. And so that's not going to change, thankfully.
We're here. We're always going to be here.
That's the idea.
Fa la 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 la.
There you go. 33% of you really like our guests, and you want to have more of them come to the show.
33%?
Listen, a very limited amount of people answered this survey.
Yeah.
Okay. But one of the things that we did get is that we want people to send us guests that they want to hear on the show. Also, if you want to have a certain guest on the show, listen, shoot for the stars. Like, you really want us to interview like a famous person or something like that, do it, because we'll reach out. I don't care. The worst they're going to do is either A, not respond, or B, say, nah, sorry, I don't got enough time. All right, cool, whatever. It's not a big deal, you know? But you never know. Somebody might say, hey, I got an extra 30 minutes. When do you want to do this?
Pose it like this. What topic do you want an expert to be a guest on the show about? Because I'm not an expert on dreams. I'm just a delightful person. But if you're really shooting for the fucking stars, you could have gotten, somebody on here that actually knows what the fuck they're talking about.
But I'm serious.
Miss Cleo.
I'm saying.
I'm telling you, A-list guest.
I am so down to reach out to. Is she still alive? Is she in jail?
She's dead. You're gonna need a Ouija board to contact her.
Is she dead? She's not dead.
Yeah, she's super dead.
She's not fucking dead, dude. Hold on. Stop. Miss Cleo not dead.
She did.
Miss Cleo not dead, dude. Effie, you lying. Miss Cleo not dead. Stop.
Hold on.
Oh my God, she died in 2016 in Palm Beach County. What the fuck?
Florida woman, Miss Cleo.
Oh.
Yo, Miss Cleo was 6'1". Respect to Miss Cleo.
Was she a power forward for the Houston Rockets? What the fuck?
Bro, she was a power forward for the fucking money Rockets.
God, okay. All right, well, moving on.
Oh, so sad she developed colon cancer.
Well, when we get the Ouija board in, we'll ask her all about it. For our 10 items or less segment, some of you suggested that you wanted to hear current events, video game releases, local gossip, and tales from work. So we'll include more of that stuff. More of you did want to hear personal stories. A lot of you wanted to hear more paranormal stuff, so we're definitely going to hit that up.
Yeah, we'll definitely do more of that.
Yep. And surprisingly, a vast majority of you that answered this said that you wanted to hear more solo episodes. So we will get together with the executive producer and see if we can start maybe putting together some like subjects for solo episodes so we can put stuff out. And I don't think that we're going to end up making that stuff like Patreon exclusive, so everybody will be able to access that. And finally, this is something that we're working on. We're actually talking to a couple people right now about moving forward with this later this year and hopefully the beginning of next year with everything that's going on. But we are trying to finally get a hold of some Dairy Aisle merchandise for everybody. So that's going to be exciting. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your items to the front of the store. We're going to be closing. However, just because we're closing, you can't stay here, but you don't have to go home. Yeah. So, I mean, unless you're actually in a city that has a curfew or a lockdown order, at which point, stay your ass inside. If you want to support the podcast, please head on over to the Patreon page. Search us at The Dairy Aisle. We have some cool stuff on there for you. You can also find us on Instagram at The Dairy Aisle as well if you want to keep up with what's going on. Outside of that, go ahead and check out our show notes. We have some interesting information on there, like the survey that you people need to take. We also have a link to This Is Meant to Hurt You, which was the book that my sister was the co-editor on. Go ahead and take a look at that and enjoy it. It's going to be fun. So that being said, thank you, everybody. It's been wonderful having you. We love all of you.
Shaboom.
Shaboom. There you go. You did a podcast episode.
Hey,
we did a thing.
That was awesome.
All righty.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Oh,
thank you for coming on. That was great.
Good night.
Good night.
Goodbye.